have a memory that I think a lot of people share. Growing up, whenever I asked for something, a new pair of shoes, a gadget a friend had, anything, my dad had one answer. Not a yes, not a no, just a pause. And then one question. Do you need it or do you want it? I hated that question. It felt like a trick because the honest answer was almost always want. And once I admitted that, the conversation was over. My dad drove the same car for 11 years. He wore the same watch for 2 decades. He packed lunch every single day while his colleagues went out. From where I stood as a kid, he looked like the one who was missing out. I was wrong.
When I got older and actually understood what he had built, quietly, without ever talking about it, I realized he wasn't being cheap. He was playing a completely different game than almost everyone around him, and he was winning it. Welcome to the Rich Route. Today, we're talking about the generation that got money right without ever calling it a strategy. The generation that came before us, the people who grew up in the 60s and 70s, had something our generation has largely lost. They felt embarrassed to spend money they didn't have. That sounds almost quaint now, because our generation has been trained to see spending as identity. Buying something nice is a reward. Financing something you can't afford is just called having good taste. The monthly payment is the product.
For them, it was reversed. Saving was the signal of responsibility. Debt was something you admitted quietly, not something you structured your lifestyle around. Keeping up with the neighbors was something people noticed and quietly looked down on. This wasn't just frugality for its own sake. It was an operating system built from watching what happened to people who spent first and hoped for the best. They had seen the consequences up close, and they quietly decided they wanted no part of it. My dad never said, pay yourself first, but he did it every single month without fail. The day his paycheck landed, a fixed amount disappeared into savings bonds, into a pension contribution beyond the minimum, into a savings account he called the do not touch account and actually did not touch. The rest of the money was what the family lived on, not the whole paycheck, what was left after the future had been funded.
Our generation does it backwards. We spend on everything that comes up, and then we try to save whatever survives to the end of the month, which is almost always nothing, because life expands to fill whatever is left. The second thing they did, and this one is harder to copy, is that they bought things based on need, not on what they could technically afford. Today, when someone considers a purchase, the question is usually, can I make the payment? Which almost always means yes, because a payment can be stretched across enough months to make almost anything feel survivable. Their question was different. It was, do I actually need this? And if the answer was no, it didn't matter how good the deal was. The third thing, and this might be the most valuable of all, they simply did not compare themselves to their neighbors. Not as a discipline, not through gritted teeth. They genuinely did not seem to care. Someone on the block got a new car? Good for them. Someone renovated their kitchen? Fine. It registered and it passed. There was no itch, no catching up to do. That indifference, which looked like a personality quirk, was actually the single most powerful financial habit a person can have. Because comparison is where most money goes. Comparison is what turns a raise into a new lease. Comparison is what makes a perfectly good phone feel inadequate the moment someone else's arrives. Let me show you what those habits actually produce, in numbers that are hard to argue with. A postal worker. Median salary his whole career. Never broke 6 figures. Saved consistently. Not aggressively, just consistently. Roughly 15 to 18% of his income every year for 35 years. never touched it, never panicked when markets dropped, never tried to pick stocks, just kept going. By the time he retired, he had more saved than colleagues who earned twice his salary, but spent to match it. He paid off his house. He didn't need his kids to support him. He didn't have to keep working because the bills demanded it. He walked away on his own terms. His secret was not a great investment strategy. His secret was that he never tried to look like he was winning. Every dollar that didn't go into looking wealthy went into actually becoming wealthy. And over 35 years, that arithmetic is devastating in the best possible way.
So, where did our generation lose the thread? We got sold the idea that visible progress is the only progress that counts. That if your success isn't showing, it doesn't exist. That the point of earning more is to live more visibly. And then credit made it all frictionless. You don't have to wait to save up for the thing anymore. You can have it now and pay later in small, manageable pieces that individually feel fine and collectively eat you alive. The average American household now carries around $6,700 in credit card debt at roughly 21% interest. That is not survival spending for most of those households. A meaningful share of it is performance. It is the monthly cost of the version of yourself you're trying to project. Our parents' generation had credit cards too, but they treated carrying a balance like a personal failing. We've been taught to treat it as normal, as just how things work now. And that shift in attitude, from shame about debt to comfort with it, might be the single most expensive cultural change of the last 40 years. I'm not saying move back to a world without credit or smartphones or any of the things that genuinely improve life. I'm saying bring back 3 things specifically.
First, bring back the need versus want question. Before any non-essential purchase, just pause and ask it honestly. Not as a punishment, as a filter. Most things fail it, and the ones that pass it, you'll feel better about buying them because you actually thought it through. That single question, practiced consistently, redirects thousands of dollars a year without a spreadsheet, without an app, without any system at all. Second, bring back paying yourself first, not saving whatever is left, moving money to investments on the day your paycheck arrives, before your brain has time to spend it. Make it automatic so it never becomes a decision you have to make every month. The first month, it feels tight. By the third month, it's invisible. By year 3, you genuinely cannot imagine having done it the other way.
Third, bring back genuine indifference to what other people are buying. Not forced indifference, not gritted teeth restraint. The real thing, rooted in actually knowing where you're going financially. So someone else's new car registers as their choice, not a comment on yours. When you have a clear picture of your own trajectory, the comparison itch mostly disappears on its own. It doesn't need to be suppressed. It just loses its grip.
Three things their generation got right. Need versus want, asked before every purchase. Pay yourself first, automatically, before anything else. Comparison indifference, rooted in knowing your own direction. Do you need it or do you want it? I used to think that question was about saying no, about deprivation, about a generation that didn't know how to enjoy what they had. I understand now that it was about something else entirely. It was about freedom. Every time the answer was want and the thing stayed on the shelf, that was a small piece of the future being protected. Quietly, without any ceremony. Our generation has better tools, better returns, better information than they ever had. We have every advantage they didn't. The one thing we haven't figured out yet is how to want less than we can afford. And it turns out, that's the whole game.
this hits somewhere real, subscribe. Every week, honest thinking about money. No products, no performance. See you next week.